Hey, friends, and welcome to the Creative Shop Talk podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about how everybody's feeling going into this storm as we're going through it together, and how a lot of us might be feeling really vulnerable and maybe beating ourselves up a little tiny bit. Maybe we're not really giving ourselves permission to not have it all together and be okay with kind of the chaos we're going through. I wanted to put together some strategic plans for you, some things that you can do right now to help you get through this storm, weather it with a little more confidence and a little bit, and giving yourselves a little bit more grace. So listen up, and we're all going to be okay. Running a creative retail business really shouldn't be so hard. I'm Wendy Batten, and this is the Creative Shop Talk podcast. Hey friends, so today I am recording an episode of my Creative Shop Talk podcast live here on Facebook because I think it's another important one and continuing the conversation about everything that's happening in this unsettled world. And so today I wanted to talk a little bit about moving forward. We're all forward thinking at this point in time. It is an unprecedented time, as we all know. I'm recording this on March 26th. Things are just changing daily by the hour. It's almost been hard to even come on and do a podcast because I don't know what to say as far as there's no playbook for this. Unprecedented times and things are changing so quickly. But I wanted to come in and talk to you about thinking about moving forward and how we're going to get through this storm. So you may or may not know, I live in a small fishing village in East Coast Canada, and I use a lot of analogies, I guess, talking about the ships and storms that we see here on the coast. And I'm sort of relaying this all as a giant storm that we're all being hit with, and we need to keep our ships upright. I said the other day, we need to all do our part and batten down the hatches and, man the helm and get through this storm. So I wanted to talk to you today about a few things that have come up with a lot of my retailers, and I thought they might be relevant to talk about here on the Creative Shop Talk podcast and here live on my Facebook page if you're watching me on Facebook. The first thing is I want to talk about how we're feeling. As business owners, we are trying really hard. Most of us, we have this big weight of the world of our businesses on our shoulders. As small business owners, we don't have anybody corporate to lean on. We're just sort of scrambling every day, trying to keep the ship upright, as I said, and what to do next and how do we plan? And we're not used to being so completely out of control. At this point in time, again, it's March 26th, things are open, some things are closed. Most of my retailers have at this point closed their retail outlets. A lot of them are doing business through e-commerce and, but right now it's the feelings, all the big feelings, and it's okay to feel the feelings. And I'm seeing a lot of people feeling shame and blame as they're going through this, and that's not fair to yourself to think that way. I had conversations with some retailers the other day, and we were talking about hard conversations with landlords and employees and all these other things, and creditors and vendors, and and it's so complicated and it's so stressful, and we're not used to being the one that has to lean in on people. And the words that came up were breaking my heart because we maybe at one point in time have all felt these. Somebody said to me they felt so unprepared for this. You know what? Give yourself some grace. Give yourself some grace because none of us were prepared for this. The whole world was not prepared for this. So give yourself some grace. I want you to give yourself permission actually to not have it all together because none of us do. Another word that came up was irresponsible. I feel irresponsible. I feel like not a great business owner. I feel like I failed at this, and it's just breaking my heart. I could cry right now thinking about it because it's nothing that we've done wrong. And, yes, when some of us look back, we all look back and say, oh, if I just done this, maybe I'd be more prepared. None of us were prepared for what is happening to the retail world, to the economic world. It's happening everywhere. It's not happening just to you. And I want you to know that, many retailers and small business owners everywhere are feeling this. So please do not feel that you're irresponsible. I had somebody actually say to me they felt dumb, sad, mad, embarrassed, scared. Like all these words were coming up. I wrote them down because they were so, during these conversations, they've been coming up so often that I just want you to know that you're not dumb or irresponsible at all, and we're going to move through this. But the thing is, right now we need to take control of what we can control, and we just need to first of all, and I say this often, put the oxygen mask on ourselves. We need to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves. I shared this in the last podcast, to make sure that we are focusing on what is important. So we need to start with us, and then our family, or in our business, whatever those big rocks are. And again, you can go back and listen to my last podcast about how to manage your business and yourself during these hard times. I talk a lot about that. And today I'm going to talk to you about some practical tips that we can use to move forward through all those hard words we're talking and sharing to ourselves. And some of the things that we can control is just taking a minute to give ourselves grace, put the oxygen mask on, and just sort of assess the situation where we are right now. So some of the things that we need to address right now, the first things business wise, I guess, is, some of you are still open. Some of you are still making money. I would like to share some really good things that are happening as well. I'm seeing landlords giving great breaks on rent. I'm seeing customers showing up in droves, like customers like responding to the request of, we need your help. I'm seeing some of my retailers are at or above where they were last March. They've been putting foundational pieces in place. We've been talking about this in my inner circle, in my membership site, in my coaching groups. We've been talking about this for 3 weeks. And to be honest, when I first started talking about it, not everybody was doing it, but we're getting there, and been putting things in place. So we do have tons of retailers that are still doing really well. It's not all doom and gloom, and I hope you are doing well, and I hope that things are going well. Online sales, people are thinking creatively about different ways that they can serve their customers. At this time, it changes. We have to be flexible. We have to be adaptable. We have to be ready to pivot, right? We have to be that person who can do that. That's what the CEO of our businesses do. So give yourself some grace. Start thinking, of all the different things that you need to do to keep your ship afloat, as I keep saying, and we can move through and forward this. There is lots of good news. I am of the mindset, this is something we have to get through. We have to ride this wave. We have to ride the ship. We will see the other side of it. So we are forward thinking at this time. We are thinking, how do we get from here to there? How do we take ourselves from feeling really heavy, and because we all do, and it's just, we just want to retreat, right? We just want to retreat, but we can't. If we want to keep our business moving forward, we need to oxygen mask, be calm, make a plan. So the plan might change, but today's plan is this. There are some things, as I want to share here, of things we can control and we can do today. And I want to share some specific strategies that I think that it's really important to just have on paper so we know where we are. The first one is to see where we are positioned cash flow wise. So if you are still making money and you're still doing, have your payroll on, and all that kind of thing, that is wonderful. There's some of you that aren't, and there's some of you that are. So let's look at how much money do we need to make? How much cash do we need to have? And how can we manage that? So the first thing that I like to do, and I've been coaching everybody to do, is to look at what we need. How much money do we need to get through the next 8 weeks? And it might not last 8 weeks. It might not. It might last longer. But 8 weeks is a really good number. We say 6 to 8 weeks, but I've been looking at 8 weeks for this situation. So 8 weeks, we're looking at weekly expenses and our monthly expenses. I'm looking at things that are fixed costs, rent. If you have staff, if you have, leases on your machinery or your vehicles or whatever, your cell phones, whatever it is you need to, the money that you need to have for your business the next 6 to 8 weeks. Again, I prefer 8 weeks right now. We're looking at let's get that number, because having control of that number is going to make us have a number, and then it's not like an arbitrary scary number, right? We know what it is. And then the second thing that you need to do is start seeing where we can defer any of those payments, right? So the rent right now, landlords are, some are being gracious, some are being not so gracious, but we're going to, try to talk to our rent. There's big programs coming out. As of the time of this recording, I know there's several programs in several states and federally in the US, and not yet in Canada, but I believe it's coming. Some laws are being put in place about landlords and rent. Mortgages are, changing. Everything is changing. So I'm urging you to, and we'll have a resource attached to this this podcast or this post, and where it's changing all the time. We'll have all the current information for you on there. But rent, if you can get a deferment or abatement, so for your rent, that would be the first thing that we're trying to do. Lean into your relationships. It's okay. I know the conversations are hard. I know it's awkward. Like, you're like, hey, landlord, that's been my landlord for 10 years. This is unusual times. So it's okay. People are being very gracious for the most part and understand this is, and if you're having a hard time writing the emails, or if you're having a hard time having the conversations, just reach out. We'll help you with the wording. The next thing is payroll. So for payroll, it's really hard. There are possibly some nice subsidies coming and things to help keep your payroll, but at this time, you have to look at your payroll and say, I love these people, and how can I afford to keep them? Like, this is the number I need to keep if they feel like family to you. If you can't do that, you need to think about your business. You need to put your CEO hat on, and we need to think about how we can keep operating, and we may have to lay some people off. It is not something anybody wants to do. I know that. I feel that from the bottom of my heart. I know I've had to do it, as well. So it's not easy. I understand, but it might be necessary for the ultimate survival of your business. Another thing that I like to look at, or I want to remind you, is that I just look through every expense on, and when I just, kind of mentioned that, but look through every expense on your, that you've put as the, the fixed costs, and what can we set aside or pause? Who can we reach out to? Your utilities right now, they are not going to cut you off. My understanding at this point in time is they are not going to cut anybody off. You're still going to have to pay that bill later. So we don't want it to get too big, but if you can only pay $100, you can only pay $100. They're not going to be cutting off water and internet and all that stuff, from my understanding at this point in time. So, where can we, defer some payments? Where can we, push them off a little tiny bit? What can we cut out? So there's a lot of there's a lot of fat, right, in our extra fat in our some of our expenses. What are things that we can get rid of? Maybe we don't need the internet at the at the studio, or maybe we don't need certain things, and certain programs we're paying for. Let's look at that and cut that out. Another thing is looking at the money we owe. So if we owe vendors, or we owe loan payments, or we owe, we have to look at each one of those. Reach out to credit cards. Credit card companies right now, some of them are being very good about, even minimum payments, and reach out to your vendors. Now, that's a hard one sometimes because, because we need to make sure that we're just keeping that window open. The conversation has to be open. They are going to want you to pay them, and they're, might be sending you bills every, whatever. Everybody's scrambling right now, and but have conversations with them. Sort your vendors out by the most important ones that you need in your store. So if you have, if you are a paint retailer, for example, and you have a paint line that you rely on heavily, or a couple of paint lines that you rely on heavily, they might have to rise up to the top, and you want to make sure that you're paying them if you're on terms with them. The next one would, then there's like the less, not the less important. I hate saying that because we all love all the things we're carrying. But if you look at it from the top down, and that's how you kind of tackle the list, as who's going to get paid. There's only so much money, right? You're going to want to pay them all, but you just maybe have to wait till the cash comes in a little bit later. So I just wanted to encourage you to just sort of in your mind, put all your priorities and your vendors and your expenses in a priority list. And who do you need to keep the relationship lines open. And a lot of people are it's just, again, not normal times, but people are calling, call or email and connect. If you ignore people, if you hide, If you don't answer the phone, if you pretend that those things aren't happening, it's first of all, it's going to eat at you. It's going to eat at you. So let's get this all out in the open and get it over with. It's going to eat at you, and it's just going to build tension between you and these other companies. So they're going to not have a relationship, not want to like come. They're going to come at you. For lack of a better word, just make sure that we're really paying attention to how we are positioning ourselves with all our creditors. That's the best thing I can recommend right now. We want to keep as much cash as we can at this point in time. You've always heard cash is king. Now you know why. We want to make sure that we have as much cash, available to us through this season, through this storm. There is going to be another side of it, and we want you to thrive on the other side. We want you to come out positive, and we want you to come out ahead. I know you have a lot of money tied up in inventory. I know it's there. So I want you to think of that money sitting in your store as, that is inventory sitting in your store, and you just kind of keep remembering that that's there. And so you did nothing wrong on the other side. We'll get to this. It's just not right now. We have to take a little pause. So it's going to be okay. But I want you to remember, this is business, and we need to put our CEO hats on right now, and we need to make sure that we're making decisions for our business, right? And and I know that you can do it. So, and we need to focus on working ourselves through this plan, through this time, right? So, and I want to encourage you to remember, if your business is really struggling right now, and I know a lot of people are, or, if it's not, there's lots of people, it's not, I keep saying it's not all doom and gloom, but if you are struggling right now, people are tying sort of their self-worth to their business. And that's not, don't do that. Don't do that. Wendy's saying don't do that. But it's just that think of it is your business. And yes, you've built it and created it. You did not create this situation. So, if your foundations need some holes filled, if we need to fill some holes, or we need to restructure the foundation coming out of this, we'll work on that later. Now's not the time to be upset with yourself that there's some foundational things that you need to work on, because we need to just keep the house standing and keep going forward. We didn't make a mistake. These things happened to us right now. So this is, I just need to keep reminding you that this is universal. And if you are feeling like your foundations are crumbling, and you are feeling, again, I'm going to come back to that over and over again, you did nothing wrong. And we really need to remember to keep giving ourselves permission to not have it all together, and to be okay that the foundations are kind of rocky, and we're going to just keep moving through it. The next thing I wanted to talk to you about is about funding, getting funding maybe to help. There's so many things here right now. And as I mentioned, we're going to put a link here to a post that I've created that has, I've got UK and Canadian. Today I was sourcing for New Zealand and Australia, just all kinds of different things that are changing. And I've sourced out a few locations that are just kind of always keeping it updated. So we can go to one place. You don't have to go to like 7,000 places or even watch the news. We'll try to keep it for you in a non-newsy place, so that you don't have to sit and watch press releases. We'll just figure it out. I want to keep it organized and ready for you. So it's all in one post, and I'll share that post here. But there is access to money. There are programs coming up every day. Like I said, every hour of every day, it seems there's something changing and happening. So a couple of things I want to mention about that. You are going to need to have your paperwork in order to apply for any kind of funding, almost for sure. So I know you do for SBA and a few other things. So here's what you can do right now. If you're, trying to do all the things, start getting your paperwork together. You're going to need your financial statements up to date. And I know some of you right now are squirming because you don't have them done. And you've been like, oh, I should have got these done a long time ago. Because it's, one of my retailers just said today, all the things are in all the little swirly places all over. Get them all out, pull everything out, call your accountant, call your bookkeeper, get whatever you need. If you don't have an accountant, bookkeeper, don't panic. We'll get it done. You've got time right now. You're not as busy in the store. So this is the kind of stuff we're going to get caught up on, but you are going to need those things together. So, and it's going to take time to get this money in, right? It's going to take time to fill out these applications and do that. So be okay with that. Be okay with the process. There's all kinds of help coming. And so loans are of two minds for me. If you have that beautiful studio filled with inventory over here, and you're going to need a loan to get through so you can sell that stuff again. And your foundation's just rocky. And right now, because you have all this money tied up in inventory over here. That's, a loan. Don't feel bad if you have to take a loan out. I have retailers that say to me, I pride myself on never having a loan. This is just an unusual time. So you have to just we have to just step back, give ourselves permission to look at what's right for the business right now. The other side of that with the loans that I'm seeing, make sure that if you have a big hole already, if your foundation is really bad, please don't get yourself into, and maybe you don't have a lot of inventory and you've just been kind of hanging on. I want to make sure that you're not getting yourself into more debt. So really have a good look. Talk to an accountant. Your accountant right now, I'm hearing accountants are just like, they just want to help you right now. They just want, like, they're being so helpful. Get your books caught up. You'll have somebody explain your numbers to you. It's really important. This is why we need to have a lot of basic financial information. I work with retailers every day who are amazing at what they do on the front side of things, right? They have beautiful stores. They have great customer service. They have customers that are so loyal, and, but they have a really not a great, strong knowledge of behind the scenes. And that's actually like very common. So I want to reiterate that that's really common. And it's just, it's a good time to start learning those things. If you need help with that, let me reach out. We have programs that can help you with that. But it's the foundational things. It's the business, the money side of things. And if you need help understanding, your profit and loss and your balance sheets and stuff, this is the time to start. Like, just be okay, forgive yourself, and let's just move to the next step that's going to help move your business forward. So have a good look at those numbers and decide whether or not that makes sense by looking at your balance sheet. It's last year's financials, your tax returns. They're going to probably want to know your FICO score and different things like that. Just have all that stuff together. A lot of the SBA loans and stuff have the list of what you need, but now's a good time to start that. What we don't want to see you do, this is advice from several people that I've heard, and what I am going to share, my personal advice. I am not a financial person at all. I was right where a lot of you were a few years ago with not understanding my financials, and I'd been in business for years and years, just kind of doing the great on the front end, but the back end. So it took me a long time to build the knowledge. So I'm still not a financial guru. Let's just start off by saying that. But what I am going to say is the advice I've been given several times, and I'm trying to share the information here. Do not dip deep into your personal savings. Do not dip in deep into your taking loans out of your retirement plans. Most retirement plans are protected by, I know in Canada, they're the RRSPs, and people are tempted to dip into those and just pay the taxes on it. If the worst thing happens, then you have to go bankrupt at the end of this, which I hope, I pray, and we're not talking about that, but we should talk about it, right? You will lose that money, right? You won't get it back. If it stays in your RRSPs and it stays in your retirement funds, that is not going to be touched by any kind of bankruptcy. So I just want to say that keep that money there. Look for alternate places for cash to get you through the next little while. So remember, we're looking at hopefully at 8 weeks, trying to figure out how to maneuver the next 8 weeks through our business. And I'm telling you, I'm seeing some really amazing things happen. So one retailer I know, she figured out all the costs for her next 8 weeks, the must pay costs. She figured out how much it was going to cost to keep her amazing staff that she loved, that were her family. And she came up with a number and she showed it to her staff. And she said, we need to make this. How can we do that? So, it was a big number and it was kind of scary. And they came up, they brainstormed. We're creatives, guys. We can figure some things out. She started a virtual DIY club and a subscription box. Her staff's all they're pushing it, they're marketing it, and they're making that number. So, they're projected to make that number, and that she wanted to be able to keep her, no pay for her kind of thing, but she wanted to be able to keep the lights on, keep the business going, keep her staff, at the minimum, to at least keep them happy as well too. So, we can put our hats on, we can figure things out, but we have to have the knowledge of the numbers that we need, and we have to have an idea of, where we're headed, right? So, and where we're headed is the other side of this. And I'm telling you right now, we are going to see, personally, I've had the opportunity to be in several retail meetings lately with retail, like big retailers, and I was asked to sit in on a roundtable, virtual roundtable with retailers from all over North America. And I was asked to sit in as a representative of the creative shop owners. That's actually, they were seeking out people from creative shop owners. And one of the things that they said is our creative shop owners, like people in the creative fields, are going to be, we are currently in demand. People are looking for our creative ideas and services. And we, on the other side of this, we're going to be one of the types of businesses that's going to thrive and succeed because people are going to be, there's, coming together. People are going to be looking to upcycle, recycle, recessions coming, possibly. So it's looking that way to me, but we're looking at lots of positive things on the other side of this. Families are going to want to gather for Thanksgiving and Christmas, and Q3 and Q4 could be amazing for us, but we have to get to the other side so we can serve our people and we can keep our dreams alive, right? So we can keep our stores open. So, I implore you to make sure that you're making all these smart financial decisions. You're working on what you can control. You're thinking positively. You're getting yourself out of that mindset. I really want you to put that oxygen mask on you first. Think about what you need to stay healthy and mindset good. And part of that, and I talked about this on our last podcast, part of that is making sure you're surrounding yourself with a community that can support you. So we are seeing in our Paintpreneurs Inner Circle amazing things happen. I asked the question the other day, tell me something good that's happening. And it was just like, things were good and good, like all these things are, and it just lit me up to see that retailers, with the right tools are moving through this. So I am currently opening my Paintpreneurs Inner Circle. We only open usually a couple times a year. We actually just opened and closed the doors, and then this all happened. So we have taken, as a team, actually even my retailers asked me to do this. They said, could we open the doors and let some, friends come in? And so this is what we've done. So the Paintpreneurs Inner Circle is currently open. And I would just like to invite you, if you're interested, we'll have the links here for you. If you're interested in joining. I also host a free group called Rockstar Creatives, and we'll be continuing this conversation over there. You'll see lots of support as well on the Rockstar Creatives page. But if you are looking for deeper tools and more, we're actually in the process of doing like weekly roundtables, what's working now, almost like not triage, but we're meeting every week, what's working now as a roundtable, as a group. We're coming together, we're sharing ideas on how we can get through, because we are going to get through to the other side. So again, that's the doors are open. I don't know how long they're going to be open. This is, again, usually I open the doors a few days later, we close the doors. We are opening the doors. Again, people have asked me to open the doors to invite new people in who need the tools and the resources that we can provide for you inside of the Inner Circle. It is all just creative shop owners. I just want to clarify, it's not a big giant group. We're creatives, we're shop owners. We're independent retailers moving through this storm together. And hopefully we would love to welcome you in there. So I would love to welcome you into the Paintpreneurs Inner Circle if you'd like to join us. If that's not a good fit for you right now, make sure you seek out a community of people, maybe through my Rockstar Creatives, which is our free group, and really surround yourself with people who are going to help you with the right mindset and the tools to move forward. I urge you to find those people. So thanks, everybody. I hope you are well. I hope you are safe. This is a time of coming together as a community, coming together as a world. This is a worldwide situation. I'm personally calling it a collective, almost trauma that we're just all going to come together to ride through this storm. And I really appreciate you taking your time to listen today. If I can help in any way, please leave us a message. I'm inside the group at the Rockstar. We can, again, continue the conversation over there. Thanks so much for joining me today. And please stay safe and healthy. Hey, thanks for joining me today. I know how precious your time is, and I'm so appreciate you taking time out of your crazy day to be here with us. All the links for today's show can be found at wendybatten.com/podcast. We'd also like to invite you to come over and continue the conversation over on my free Facebook group. It's called Rockstar Creatives. I'm going to be popping in there live every week to continue the conversation, talk a little bit about what we spoke about today. And I'd love for you to join us over there, Rockstar Creatives on Facebook. I'd also love to ask, if it's not too much trouble, if you could leave me a review and let me know what you think of the podcast. If you're loving the show, be sure that you're subscribing to the podcast so you don't miss an episode. I'd hate for you to miss one. It's been such a pleasure to be here with you today. I'll see you next week here on the Creative Shop Talk podcast.